been a minute since we've done a vlog, but this week I have so much going on that I feel like I need to share it with you guys. I have a couple sewing projects this week. I'm actively working on a knitting project and a crochet project. And it's the first week where the temperatures have cooled down. It's raining today for the first time in a long time. The leaves are changing. It's really like cozy fall vibes here. The first sewing project that I'm going to get started on right now is I am making a tree skirt because my next pattern that is coming out is a tree skirt pattern. It's called the Connie tree skirt. It has a cute little wavy edge to it and bow closures, although you can do buttons as well, bows or buttons. It's fairly simple, but the possibilities are endless. It's coming out at the end of September, so hopefully in plenty of time for people who want to make their own tree skirts or make them for gifts or whatever. But I have to make a few of them, obviously, in preparation for the launch. I am filming the tutorial for it next week because all my patterns come with a video tutorial. So I need to make 2 different versions for the tutorial. I need to pick out fabric for those, which is what we're gonna do right now. And then I also need to make a 3rd tree skirt that's going to be like my personal one that I use and kind of be like the hero tree skirt. So my vision for the hero tree skirt is to be patchwork. I need to keep it fairly simple because I don't have like weeks and weeks to work on this. I'm gonna go through fabric in a second and we'll like talk through it. But the 2 ideas that I'm kind of running with, one is an Irish chain patchwork quilt block. Here's some examples of what Irish chain looks like. You've probably seen it if you don't know exactly what it's called. I've actually never made this before, but I've seen it lots of places. It looks fairly simple. I feel like I could pull this off with probably just like 2 fabrics. The other option for patchwork is just keeping it fairly simple and doing like half square triangles in a variety of directions. And this is much more hodgepodge. I'm thinking like Weasley family kind of, where it's just a bunch of fabrics thrown together. It looks very grandma-y, mix, match, cozy, whatever. So I'm gonna look through my fabrics and see which of these are gonna make sense. So I need to find fabric for the patchwork. The tree skirt is reversible, so I'll need a reverse fabric on the other side. And then my 2 other tree skirts, I need to find fabrics for each of those. 3 tree skirts in total. I'm gonna start pulling stuff, probably all like Christmassy colors, and I don't know. I have a lot of options here, as you can see. As expected, I took a very long time going through all the fabrics, laying them next to each other, seeing what colors and fibers were working well together. The one that I feel quite confident about is the patchwork one that I'm going to be working on this week. I thankfully still have a bunch of fat quarters left from a pack that I was sent by Fabulism in their Queen of Hearts collection. So all of these fabrics have like little woven hearts into them, and they're different like ginghams and woven solids. They're really interesting. Like this one, for example, is a red and blue woven together, so it ends up kind of like purple maroony. Anyway, so I have a bunch of these left, which I think would work really well for patchwork. And then I have a couple of supplemental bigger bolts of fabric, or not bolts, cuts of fabric as well. So it's kind of like a reddish, bluish, maroonish, purplish vibe. I didn't want to just do like red and green, and because trees are usually green, I think red is a bit safer for a tree skirt. Anyway, so that's the vibe of the first one. On to what I'm less confident about, but feeling okay with. I need to make a baby size and a standard size. There's 4 sizes of the tree skirt. The diameter of the baby size is 28 inches, so it's pretty dang small. That one is gonna have buttons in the tutorial instead of bows. And so I think what I'm gonna do is these 2 fabrics, this one on like the main side and then this one on the back of it. But I mean, it's reversible. You can use either side of it. This is a quilting cotton I got at, I think, Bolt. Yeah, these handy dandy fabric labels, which I'll actually link for you guys because they're really helpful. I got this at Bolt, which is just like a printed quilting cotton, but you know, it looks quilted or patchworked, which is very handy for projects like this. It'll have a really like cute look to it, but I don't have to do all the work of patchworking that together. So that'll be the main side. And then I have this bow fabric, also a quilting cotton from Hey Sew Sister, which again is nice because it has like that red in it, but it's not just green and red. It's like navy blue and red. So those are the 2 sides. And then I think for the binding, I'm going to use this woven cotton that I got from Pacific Fabrics in Seattle. I mean, it's basically just a solid red, but it actually does have these little woven pluses or X's in it that are a pink color. So it's not just solid red. Anyway, those are those three. It's very 4th of July actually now that I look at it, but you only see one side at a time, so it's fine. Okay, what I'm the most undecided on is the standard size tree skirt I need to make in the tutorial. This video will probably be out maybe like 2 days before I have to film my tutorial. So if you have thoughts on this, you can vote for the first couple days. And if you see it past that, it will be too late. Basically, I want to go a bit non-traditional, but I also don't want it to be too like boring or weird. These are my 3 front runners. They're all fairly neutral. This is a cotton gauze from Pincushion Fabrics. I'll try to link all these in the description. This is nice and neutral. I worry a little bit because it's gauze and it is quite flowy. I know that I'd be able to quilt it and it would be fine, but especially for a tutorial, it would be nicer to have a fabric that's a bit stiffer and isn't going to get squished in the quilting when I'm showing or supposed to be showing people how to do it like the best way possible. Anyway, this is a block print from Fluid Plus Drape. I think it's really cute. It's like sort of reddish rust orange, and the pattern to it is a little bit of a star, which I think is very Christmassy, and that could be cute. However, it's only 48 inches wide, and so I'm not entirely sure I would be able to get the whole tree skirt cut from it. Third option is, again, another cut of the Queen of Hearts collection from Fabulism. This one is like a blue and brown, which of course isn't traditional Christmas, but I feel like there's something very festive and Christmassy to it anyway. The only problem with this one is I only have 1 yard of it, which again, I think is gonna be a bit of a stretch. It's actually a little more than a yard. Anyway, I don't know that I'm gonna be able to get a whole cut of this tree skirt from that either. I don't know, we'll see. So those are the 3 fabrics that I'm trying to decide between. I have a few days to think about it. Also, the nice thing about the tutorial is that I don't really need to find a fabric that has like a for sure right and wrong side, because there's basically only one part of the pattern where you even really have to think about that. And I'll be sure to like mention it in the tutorial, but you're really only looking at the right side of the fabric 99% of the time. We are gonna get started on cutting up the patchwork for my own personal tree skirt, which I'm very excited about. I'm feeling pretty good about the patchwork situation. I'm gonna let it sit out on the floor tonight and think about it just a little bit longer. I have a couple extra blocks that I made just in case I want to switch anything around or move anything before I sew all of these blocks together and then move on to the tree skirt, which is a pretty quick sew. I'm sure I can finish it tomorrow. I'm heading out tonight to a soccer game. My husband is a coach and I always bring like a knitting or crochet project with me. In fact, let me go get the stuff I'm working on and we can talk about it. I have a crochet project and a knit project going on right now. I'll give you the rundown. This is my first like official knit garment that I've made. It's the Roma vest pattern by Mochi Knits. I saw this picture on Pinterest a while ago, and I pinned it thinking, whenever I learn to knit, I want to make something like this. And so I was trying to find a vest that looked as similar to this as possible. It's actually looking pretty good, except it seems very small. It's on gauge. I made like 4 gauge swatches, consulted experts. It should block out to be fine. It's so like rolled up and scrunched right now, but I think it's coming together okay. It's made from merino wool, and you know, when I even just stretch it out with my hands, because it's curling in so much on itself, it is stretching quite a bit. But I've actually been pretty proud of myself, because I think that I chose a pattern that isn't necessarily super like easy beginner friendly, but it's something that I actually want to make and want to wear, which is advice I always give people when they're learning to sew, is choose something that you're actually excited about. Don't just pick things based on, oh, this is a good beginner project, because oftentimes you'll surprise yourself at how much you can do right off the bat. I could take this tonight, or I could take my crochet project, which is much more mindless, probably because I've been doing crochet for longer, and this project is really, really simple. This is going to be a crochet hook case. It's a pattern from Nastia Crochets. So right now it's pretty much just a flat piece of crochet work, but there will be pouches and hook slots in here, and then it rolls up and is like a storage thing with a little tie on it. Anyway, I'm using scrap yarn that I had for it. It's coming together really quickly. I've done checkerboard like this before, and you hold both the yarns together so that you don't have to like change colors every 2 seconds. It's been easy, it's been fun. I'm gonna bring one or both of these projects to the soccer game because I like something to do with my hands while I'm observing. My morning walk, as I often am, listening to books as I usually do, and I just barely finished a book that I have not had a 5-star read in a really, really long time, so I feel like I have to tell you guys about it. I just read The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig, and it was so good. I was so surprised. I mean, I read her books a couple years ago that came out, the Shepherd King duology, and I really liked that one. I was like, yeah, this is good. This is good, like fantasy. Her like world building and magic systems are always really cool. But something about this one was just so cool, and the vibes were so cool. The main character is a diviner, so she reads signs, I guess, in dreams. Like she's drowned in water. She has a shroud over her eyes at all times, so no one ever can see her eyes. And when she's drowned in the water, she can like see these visions or whatever. So it's really like kind of spooky, gothic vibes. She lives in a cathedral. She's not allowed in like the outside world. Anyway, I don't want to like spoil it or give too much away, but it was so, so good. I can just tell that I'm about to head into a reading slump. Does that ever happen to you? Where you read a book so good that you're like, well, all books for the next couple months at least are just going to be subpar. But I highly recommend it if you are a fantasy lover. It's a good fall book too. Very cozy fall, spooky, gothic vibes. Prepare yourselves. I do not believe that you are ready to witness this. It's so good. I'm so happy I decided to go with this patchwork. It feels really like homey and cozy. But this afternoon I am going to run a couple errands with my daughter. Her birthday was a few weeks ago. She's 11, guys. I have an 11-year-old. She's in middle school, which is crazy. But a couple things she wanted for her birthday were new plants for her room, which is so cute. And she also got really into crystals when we went to the beach a few weeks ago. So for her birthday, she got a shopping trip to go pick out new plants and crystals for her room, and I promised I'd take her this afternoon, so I think we're gonna go do that. And I will check back in when I have more tree skirt news. I really needed a break from working on the tree skirt. I've been putting a few hours into it every day this week. I think just with the patchwork, I mean, normally it's a pretty quick project, but with the patchwork, it's coming together kind of slowly, and I'm a little bit sick of being on my feet and sewing and all that stuff. Anyways, so I went to the park and I'm knitting and I'm working on my vest, which I know I talked about briefly, but it has been a bit of a learning experience. I am a little bit concerned that it's going to come out too small. I'm not actually that worried. In fact, I talked about this briefly on my Instagram stories and I got like a flood of advice, which was very nice and I appreciate it, but I feel like I know what needs to be done. I've consulted my knitting friend experts that kind of know what they're doing, and I'm on gauge. I'm using the right kind of yarn and I have faith in the blocking process. So I really feel like it'll probably work out. And if it doesn't work out, I did talk to my daughter about potentially inheriting this vest. She said she'd wear it, so it won't be all a lost cause, even if it does end up a little bit small. I tried it on and obviously it's not blocked or anything yet. I feel like it looks so small holding it up right here, right? But it's just curling so much. It's a slipped stockinette stitch. I don't know if you can really tell. What I've heard is those slipped stitches will really stretch out a lot once it's blocked. And when I tried it on, unblocked, still curling as it is on the needles, it actually was sort of my size. Like, it fit kind of like a fitted tank. A lot of people also told me that I could do like a mid-project block or like a steam block to see how it's going. I considered doing that, but I just decided I'm not worried enough to actually go through that process. Sometimes when I talk about my projects on here, I'm just kind of like mentioning the things I'm thinking, things that I maybe like have my eye on or maybe slightly concerned about. I think sometimes it comes off as people think that I'm like super duper stressed. I'm really not. My attitude about basically everything is it'll be fine, and even if it's not, I don't really care. Anyway, but knitting has been really fun. I've been trying to kind of hoard sweater ideas for the fall. This project has taught me that knitting does take a long time, and instead of making like half a dozen sweaters this fall and winter like I maybe thought I might, I'll probably only be able to make like one or two, which is totally fine. It's gonna be a lifelong craft that I'm going to work on, and I have many, many years ahead of me that I can make lots of sweaters. If you have any like super favorite patterns, let me know. I feel like I've sort of been making a list, and maybe I'll share it, of my like knitted wish list. But as for right now, my mind is pretty much just on getting this vest done and learning from it.
We're working on binding the tree skirt. This thing is almost done. We're getting close. But I have two thoughts. First of all, I had planned in this pattern to make a like one-page guide to give tips and advice and resources for different kinds of patchwork. Because the tree skirt can be made out of anything, right? Like, you can just do one cut of fabric, you could do patchwork, you could do different kinds of fabric, like one of my testers is doing corduroy, you could do like Sherpa or chenille or flannel or whatever you want to do, right? But I understand that if you wanted to do a patchwork skirt, which is really fun, and you've never really done patchwork before, I can understand feeling like you're not really sure where to start. And I make a lot of patchwork garments, accessories, bags, different things like that. And I sort of have a process for how I do it, and I'm very much not like a super duper experienced quilter. I've actually never made like a quilt. I've never used like a quilt pattern or anything. Anyways, but I've made a lot of patchwork things just kind of by my own process. So I'm going to make a page in the pattern to give people guidance or directions on different options for patchwork. But I had the idea that just in general, I do think that that's something that I have a lot of experience with and could maybe be helpful for people if, like I said, you're not really sure where to start, you want to make patchwork things, and like this could be applicable for anything, like the tree skirt, for dresses, for pants, bags, anything, like any patchwork thing you want to make, this would be like a guide for how I would go about the process, from mood boarding, ideating, planning how much fabric you need, planning the colors and the patterns and the stripes, ginghams, solids. I think I'm gonna film a little patchwork guide next week. And then I can link that in this pattern, but it can also be used for other things. Anyway, that's my first thought. I'm really excited about it. I've been thinking about it all day, and like I keep taking notes anytime I have ideas for it, whatever. The other thing I wanted to tell you guys about is not really sewing related. And honestly, it's gonna sound like an ad, but this is not sponsored in any way. Nobody is paying me to do this or talk about this, but I kept hearing about this device called a brick. Maybe you've heard of it too, that turns your phone into like a brick phone, basically. I mean, you can like choose the apps that you want to block. So if you want to block social media, your internet browser, your calls, your texts, like you can block brick whatever you want to brick. And there's like different modes that you can do. It's like a physical cube that's a magnet. It's stuck on my fridge right now. And you like tap your phone to it and it bricks your phone, and then you can't access the things that you've decided you don't want to access. So for me, the only things that I've actually been bricking, I've had mine for like a week. The only things I've been bricking are Instagram, TikTok, and Pinterest. Because honestly, when you look at my screen time, those are the only things that I really get roped into. And like I have screen time like limits on my phone, right? For those things, but it doesn't really work because you can just bypass it really easily. I always find a reason that I'm like, oh, I can do it for 15 more minutes and it's fine. And anyway, especially with my job being so online, it is quite difficult sometimes, like while I'm sewing or trying to get stuff done, I often find myself getting sucked down rabbit holes, specifically on Instagram and TikTok. So I've been using this brick, and you have to, I didn't even explain, you have to tap it to brick it, and then you have to tap it to unbrick it. So if I tap it, it's upstairs, right? I tap it while I'm working, which is what I've been doing the past like week. I tap it and then I like come work, and I'd have to go, I mean, this seems silly, I'd have to go all the way back to my kitchen to unbrick my phone, but I don't want to do it. I'm too lazy. I'm like working on stuff. I don't want to have to go out of the room and whatever. Or if you leave the house, like if I wanted to brick while I was on a hike or something like that, then like I could not access those apps while I'm out of the house. And it has genuinely been so nice. And it, you know, obviously it tracks how long you've been bricked. And my average, I've been bricking like 6 hours a day. And genuinely this week, I've been more productive than I've been in a really long time because I am not on my phone. My screen time has been down so much. And I'm not even a person who's like, sometimes you hear about people who have like 16, 18 hours of screen time a day. That is not me, not even close. But it's still gotten my screen time down a ton. I feel like I hardly even really use my phone, like just when I actually need it for things, right? Anyway, it's been amazing. I wish I was sponsored to talk about this. I wish I was getting kickbacks. I am not. Nobody's paying me, but maybe I'll link it. Some free advertising for them. The tree skirt is complete. It's all rolled up. Are you ready for the grand dramatic reveal? Ta-da! Does it look good? Yes, I love it so much, you guys. I was really torn when doing the binding last night, like choosing the fabric I was gonna use for the binding. I was really torn on if I wanted to do classic red or this like nudish pink color. That's originally what I was gonna go for. But then I just thought, I think it needs a bit more festivity to it, right? Because it is a bit non-traditional colors. It's more like bluish, purplish, pinkish overall, but there are for sure lots of like pops of red. And I thought that the solid red binding would just bring that out a little bit better. And I was right. It's perfect. I love it. So my plan is to next week get a hold of a Christmas tree to take some pictures. I definitely want to give lots of examples of how the tree skirts look with an actual tree, right? It's September, but I need to show both like styling wise and perspective and sizing and all of those things. I need to show how the tree skirts look with a tree. My family is quite staunchly real tree people, mostly my husband because he grew up in Oregon, grew up getting real trees. I grew up with fake tree, but I have been converted. I love real trees. They smell so good and they're so pretty and whatever. You can't really get a real Christmas tree in September. We've never owned a fake one. We don't have one. I don't even know anybody local that has one that I could ask. So I think I'm gonna try to buy one. I looked at Facebook Marketplace to see if anyone's selling Christmas trees right now, and there were actually a lot and they were pretty cheap. They were like 10 to 20 bucks. I'm gonna get a fake tree. I'm gonna set it up in my living room. I'm gonna stage a photo shoot with my tree skirt and the other ones I make for the tutorial. Take a bunch of pictures, have Christmas in September. I'm so excited for this pattern, you guys. It's really, really cute. And my testers have been finishing their tree skirts. The first couple of them have been completed like today and yesterday, but I've been getting like progress shots and like seeing the fabrics people are choosing, and oh my gosh, they're so good. I'm gonna puke. Oh, I also set up the page on my website for the pattern, so you can like see how much fabric you need for it, and you can sign up to be notified when it launches and all that stuff. Anyway, end of September is what we're shooting for. Project number 1 of the week finished. This was actually a pretty big project, doing all this patchwork and stuff. I need a bit of a palette cleanser tonight. As I said earlier when I went to the park, like I'm just a bit sick of looking at that patchwork, doing binding. I've been making a lot of tree skirts lately and I'm still not done with it. So I'm gonna see if I can finish my crochet project. I already completed like the main part of the case, and then there's a variety of different like pockets and pouches and things like that that go inside of it. This is what I got done just at the soccer game the other day. Anyway, I might be able to finish it tonight, which would be great. But the crafting is not done at that stage. I have one more project that I'm gonna be working on tomorrow that I can't wait to tell you about. It is Friday and I decided to close it all out with sewing something for myself, which is a goal of mine that I talked about in a recent vlog. I need to just sew more for myself for fun. I got started on that. We're gonna talk about it in a second, but first I need to show you my hook case, which turned out so stinking cute. I'll unwrap it for you. Look at that. It has just nice little pouches and pockets to hold all of my crochet stuff, and this will be very handy when I'm looking for hooks. In fact, it made me realize when I was rounding up all of my hooks from my different bags and cups and drawers and random places that I've been keeping them, that I am actually missing quite a few sizes. So I am gonna need to order some of those. Which reminds me, actually, I recently updated my website. I have a page on my website of tools, and it's all like sewing tools, right? Machines that I recommend. I have it categorized into things that are like absolutely must-have things, things that are like really nice to have but not necessary, some quilting tools, whatever. I made a section there for crochet and knitting tools. So all of my hooks and knitting needles, the books that I learned from, blocking supplies, all of that kind of thing is all there now, which is very handy. Guys, we have to talk about this sewing project, and I have been torn on how vulnerable to be about this, but I just feel like I need to be honest. So don't judge me too hard. This may be surprising to hear, but I am not good at following patterns. And this is entirely a me thing. This is nothing to do with other pattern designers, or I just really don't like following patterns. And that was my experience when I learned to sew like 10 years ago. But the pattern that I am working on today is the Celine top from Silver Saga Patterns. And this is a designer that I've like been aware of and heard about for a long time. I haven't made any of her stuff before, but I know that a lot of people really love her patterns. She's like a very highly esteemed pattern maker. So I'm very excited to make my first pattern from her. The top is a style that I've seen going around everywhere. This is what it looks like finished. And I have a lot of really pretty like white, breezy fabrics. This is a cotton that I got from Bolt Fabrics in Portland. I bought it in person, but it has this really pretty texture to it. So it's not just like a plain nothing cotton. And I was so excited to work on it today, and I'm feeling a little discouraged. Again, entirely me. This is a me thing for sure. Got the pattern, opened the pattern up, and started reading through the instruction. I was just feeling so overwhelmed. I'm such like a visual person or like a tactile learning person. I hate reading like blocks of text, but as a pattern designer, I totally understand that like you need to have written instructions too. And I think also the fact that this pattern has a ton of views. I think there's 6 different views, which is awesome, but I'm just feeling really, really overwhelmed. I know that this is gonna be fine. I'm like in the trenches right now of just feeling like, oh, what have I done? What have I begun? But I know that it's gonna turn out cute and it's gonna be great. And the mindset that I've decided to have is that this is a toile, which is, if that's a term you haven't heard before, that's basically like a sample that you make first. It gives you an idea of how the garment is going to fit you and how the construction goes and all that stuff. So I'm kind of taking this one as like my first draft, my sample, my toile. And I imagine I'll make more. I'd love to make more once I like go through the pattern and I'm more familiar with it. I just really hate following instructions. That's kind of how I've always been. I'm excited for the self-drafted things that I have planned in my brain. Maybe it will be helpful to other people who feel similarly to me, who have a hard time with patterns, don't love following directions, and maybe want to see the process a bit more of someone like me who wings it. Because everybody learns differently. Everyone's creative process is different, and that is okay. I say to myself in the mirror. Okay, let's sew a shirt. It is time for a mid-project fit check, and I look insane because I just put this on top of the dress that I was wearing and my t-shirt. So I feel like it's not really a great look at how it's fitting so far, but that's okay. I am getting the information I need. So this is the top so far. I feel like it is coming together right now. I am assessing the like gathers in the front and the back to see if I want to make some adjustments. I think I will. I think I'll bring it in a little bit. I made a size 42. Which was in between, like I was in between 2 sizes, and I decided to go with the one that was like slightly above where my measurements were. I did raise the neckline like maybe 3/4 of an inch. It was like 2 centimeters. What's that? Like 0.6 inches. Anyway, not much of a difference, but I did read in the instructions. It's like a lot of people raise the neckline. It's pretty low, whatever. I don't really have a chest, as we've discussed. And so often things that have low necklines, there's nothing to hold it up, right? So they fall quite low. Raised that a little bit. I also adjusted the elastic in the sleeves. The recommended length for my size was 13 inches, I think. And I actually ended up cutting it like 15 inches because I really don't like things that are tight on my arms. Also, the version I decided to make. So it's gonna have like a ruffle around here, and then there's an option to do a ruffle around the bottom and to do buttons down the front. I'm not doing those this time, but I'd love to do that in the future. I just really wanted to make the quickest version I could make today. We're running out of hours of the day here. I need to finish this up and go be with my family, but I will give you an update when it's all the way done. We're back, it's morning. The top is all the way done and it is so cute. I do love it. I think it is extremely wearable. I'll definitely get use out of it, but I am going to make some changes in the next version that I make. The biggest one is the puffy sleeve. I'm just gonna depuff it a lot. And to give you a little bit of like kind of my mindset around making alterations, a lot of times things like that, if you're like, I wanna make the sleeve less puffy, I wanna make this shorter, this longer, whatever, but you're like, I don't know how to do it or where to start. My rule of thumb is like pinch it out, right? So this is quite puffy here. I feel like it's hard while I'm holding my microphone. Let me clip it. Okay, that's better. So I would just pinch it, and honestly, I'd pinch it quite a bit. Like I'd maybe pinch it like an inch, which would be 2 inches, right? Like pinched on the fold, 2 inches. I'd probably take like 2 inches of bulk just like right out of the center. So wherever you're pinching is where you'd cut out of the pattern piece, right? So I'll take volume out of the sleeves. I don't think I'm gonna shorten them. I actually do like the length. The collar, I think this is like a collar, right? The collar I do like. I actually did take some of the length out of the collar, which would reduce the ruffle before I added it because I was getting a little nervous of like being over ruffly. So this is even less ruffly than the actual collar is, and I still feel like it's really ruffly. So next time I'll definitely make this shorter so it'll have less gathers. I probably overall will make a size or 2 down, honestly. I could probably go down quite a bit. I mean, I don't know. It's nice and like loose, and it's certainly not, like I said, it's wearable. It'll be fine. But I could probably go down a couple sizes. Neckline, I raised it, like I said, a little bit, and I probably would raise it even more because when I think of where the seams of my shoulders hit, when I push them forward so that they're actually like on my shoulders, then the front does come down quite a lot. And I like where the back hits better and just where the line of the hem lands when it's pulled like to this length, but I don't want it to show like what I'm wearing underneath. So I have to keep like tugging it up. Yeah. So I feel like I'd honestly add like an inch maybe to the neckline. I like the hem length. I think it's pretty much perfect. Love to do a version with buttons, would love to do a version with like a ruffle on the bottom. So overall, I am very, very pleased. I will also mention with this pattern, I think it's definitely like a good pattern. It's well drafted. The instructions are very thorough. It was a bit overwhelming for me just how it was formatted. It's like really wordy. And I think even just, yeah, formatting would, to break it up a little bit more, would make it less overwhelming. You know, I find myself reading like huge chunks of text and then that's why I'd be like, I'm just gonna improvise because I just feel so overwhelmed. But again, that's probably a me thing. I just have a hard time reading a bunch of text when I'm instructed to do something. The other note about the pattern that I was really bummed about was I realized after I bought it that there's no projector file. And so I did find a way to take the large format file and use it on my projector, which I could make work, but it's just not formatted like for a projector, right? It's made to be used on paper. And so there's a lot of things in the ways that the pattern pieces were laid out and whatever that were kind of annoying with the projector. But you know, I made it work. I didn't have to print anything. At first when I realized there was no projector file, I was like, do I have to print all of this and tape it together right now? Thankfully, I figured out a workaround, but I was bummed because I had just assumed that there would be a projector file. Maybe that's on me. I would definitely call this week a success. All of these things are very cute. I'm still working on my knitting. Hopefully that will be done soon. Saturday, I'm gonna go make my family some breakfast and we're gonna watch football. I don't really like football, but I really love college football, specifically because we live in a college football town. Go Ducks. So we're gonna watch the game. I'm making scones for breakfast, and I actually would love your guys' thoughts about this. Growing up, the scones that I had were fried bread, and we ate them with like jam or honey butter. Delicious, amazing, one of my favorite foods. Imagine my surprise when I'm, I think 18, and I order a scone at a restaurant for the first time, and I receive a crusty, crumbly, like biscuit type of thing, and I'm so confused as to what this is, because to me, this is not a scone, and that is when I learned that what I have called scones my whole life are not actually scones. And I don't know if it's like a Utah thing because that's where I grew up, or if it's like a my family thing. I have no idea, but I'm curious to ask you guys and source opinions if anybody else refers to these yummy fried bread concoctions as scones. I've also heard some people call them like elephant ears, although elephant ears that I've had to me are different. They like taste different, the texture's kind of different, or I don't know, there's a number of like fried breads. They're like kind of donut adjacent, but they're not quite donuts. I keep calling them scones. My kids refer to them as scones, and I may be doing them a disservice, but that's just how I was raised, guys. So we're gonna have a Saturday of scones and college football, and probably a little bit of knitting. Thanks for hanging out with me this week. You will definitely be seeing more of me soon. Tree Skirt's launching in a couple weeks, and we're entering fall sewing season, which is the best season of them all.